Rolling Meadows, this is the February 12th, 2019 meeting of the City of Rolling Meadows City Council, beginning at 7:30. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will the clerk please call the roll?
Cannon.
Yes.
Budmats.
Present.
Majikis.
Here.
Gallo.
Here.
Banger.
Yes.
Diastis.
Present.
Williams.
Here. 7 present and none absent. There is a quorum. First order of business is to approve the minutes of the January 22nd, 2019 City Council meeting. Is there a motion to approve the minutes? Mr. Budmats has done that. Do I have a second for Mr. Williams? Is there any additions, corrections, or deletions? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I'm going to ask for a motion to deviate because we have a swearing-in ceremony from the fire department. Do I have an alderman make that motion? Mr. Budmats has made that. It's been seconded. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We will now do deviate. All right. Chief, this is... Okay. Chief, this is... There we go. I'm just testing it for you, Chief. It's always a great time when we do this. I'm going to let the Chief start off with a few words.
Well, thank you, everybody. We have a great showing in the back from active members of the fire department, city workers, as well as retirees from the fire department. I want to thank everybody and for the families here that showed up today. This is exciting for us. Once a year, we have our ceremonial swearing in of the promotions that happened in the last 6 months. Tonight, we are swearing in a battalion chief, a lieutenant, and 2 firefighter paramedics. I welcome everybody afterwards. This is like to stay around and get some quick photo ops after we take a quick break.
We're gonna take a recess.
We'll take a recess after this, yes. So thanks again. This is an exciting time for Rolling Meadows. We have a great groundswell of outstanding individuals. I keep saying that Rolling Meadows, not only the police, fire, and public works, we are second to none in the northwest suburbs. I continue to tell our firefighters that. We are second to none, and I believe that wholly. And I'm proud and I'm honored to be your fire chief. So with that being said, I'll turn things officially over to the mayor.
Thank you, Chief. We're going to start off with Battalion Chief Rick Acosta. All right. Right up here, 26 years. It just seems like yesterday. I met your wife. I thought that was your daughter, but that's okay. That's it. Well, that's okay. Hey, how do you think I've been married for 37 years? I mean, that's it. If my wife didn't love me, no one would. So I was looking at your resume here, and you've done just about everything that you could do, and you come to work every day, and you still love it as much as the first day you came.
Absolutely.
So, if you would raise your right hand, I, Rick Acosta, do solemnly swear or affirm
I, Rick Acosta, do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the rules of the Constitution of the State of Illinois.
the rules of the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
That was me, I blew it.
Oh.
The rules and regulations of the city and the fire department,
the rules and regulations of the city and the fire department,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
of the office of Battalion Chief to the best of my abilities.
of the office of Battalion Chief to the best of my abilities.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Who's pinning you?
Thank you.
Lieutenant Ryan Harding. You guys are all hard charging. You're not used to being in this formal uniform stuff. Just give me my turnout suit and let me go to work. That's what I want. I did have the chance, this is your 10th year in Rolling Meadows? And I did have the opportunity to meet your wife, and I believe, how many daughters?
Three daughters and one son.
Okay, I met the 3 daughters, but is it any surprise that they didn't let the son get close? They were just having a great time. I told them I have 3 daughters, that's why I have gray hair. Would you please raise your right hand? I'll see if I can get this one right this time. I, Ryan Harding, do solemnly swear or affirm
I, Ryan Harding, do solemnly swear and affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
the rules and regulations of the city and the fire department,
the rules and regulations of the city and the fire department,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties. And I will faithfully discharge the duties
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
of the office of Fire Lieutenant to the best of my ability.
of the office of Fire Lieutenant to the best of my ability.
Congratulations. Come on down. I'm sure there's someone on the squad that can fix that badge so it'll stay adhered. Our next new firefighter is Jacek Barlunski. How are you, young man?
Good, very good.
We have a unique story. Is I met him the very first day that he reported to the city of Rolling Meadows. He didn't know who I was. I was just sitting down standing by the front counter, and he says, "Can you direct me to the Human Resources Department?" I said, "Well, maybe I can help you out there." So, congratulations. I'm glad you found the Human Resource Department and you're part of Rolling Meadows. Okay, would you raise your right hand? I, Jacek Barlunski,
I, Jacek Barlunski,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
the rules and regulations of the city and the fire department,
the rules and regulation of the city and the fire department,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties.
of the office of firefighter paramedic to the best of my ability.
Can you please,
Of the office of firefighter
of the office of firefighter,
paramedic
paramedic,
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations. Okay. Who's doing the honors?
Tana, my wife Tana.
Okay. Well, it looks like we have everybody here. Oh my gosh. That's okay. That's it. Well, we want Dad. That's, you know. Okay. Did you ever notice how women can multitask many things? Holding children, pinning a badge on her husband, and keeping it all under control. So, thank you. We're now going to take about a 5-minute recess for pictures.
One more.
What did I miss?
One more to go. Charles.
Oh my gosh, come on down. Charles Myers. That's okay, they called you. That's okay, someone called you John Myers down here, so I'm not sure. You know, I do have to apologize. We talked ahead of time. I said I just want to get your name right. So I got your name right, but I forgot who you were. So it didn't work out. So we're glad that you're here tonight. I mean, it looks like it's going to be an interesting night out there in the storm. So I don't know, are you on duty tonight or are you?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Okay, you can pick up the pieces tomorrow morning. So, all right, thanks. Please raise your right hand. I, Charles Myers,
I, Charles Myers,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
and I'll support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
the rules and regs of the city and the fire department,
the rules and regulations of the city and the fire department,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
of the office of firefighter paramedic to the best of my ability.
of the office of firefighter paramedic to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Just remember, after this, I will never, ever forget. And now you're our second generation firefighter. Now, Dad, what department?
Rutland Dundee Fire Department.
Okay. Mom's a nurse, and your brother is a police officer. Is he here tonight, or is he on?
He's working.
Okay. All right, Dad. Congratulations. Chief, if you'd like to organize for about 5 minutes, some pictures up here? Yeah, we're taking a 5-minute recess. Thank you.
So why don't we get all the firefighters are being sworn in tonight right here with Chief Moxley and myself?
May I have a motion to close the floor, please? So moved. Mr. Budmats has made that. It has been seconded. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? This brings us to the mayor's report. This was a slow time. We've only done, one ribbon cutting this time around, and that was for Tooth Stars that opened up. It's on Plum Grove Road and Kirchhoff Road. And if I was a kid, that's the place I'd want to go, because I have to tell you, between the digital and the TVs and all the electronics, I'm telling you, you wouldn't even know you were working on your teeth. Are there any board reports? None. Seeing none. This now brings us to the part of the meeting where the meeting is open to the public for 20 minutes. The council meeting is now open to the members of the audience for 20 minutes to address the city council on matters on the agenda or regarding other issues. When we ask that persons wishing to address the city council keep their comments to 5 minutes in length, comments must be addressed to the council as a whole through the mayor, and profanity may not be used in any form. First person on the signatory is Dr. Goya. It is nice to see you. For many of you who may not be aware, he has run the anti-smoking campaign and been involved with the city of Rolling Meadows for how many years?
Mayor, now you're asking me a difficult question.
Okay. I'll just let you speak. I just thought I'd give some background on that one. We don't normally do that.
Thank you very kindly, Mayor Presna, Honorable Alderman, City Manager, Mr. Krumstott, staff and residents of this wonderful community. I'm Arvind Goyal. I'm chair of Rolling Meadows TIP committee. TIP stands for Tobacco Information and Prevention Program. When we were naming the committee approximately about 22 years ago, there was a contest between the high school students, honor society students in Rolling Meadows, and somebody proposed smoking, croaking, and choking committee, but we didn't like it. So we've stayed with the name here. And I do want to say again that this is one of the unique municipalities, local governments, that was one of the first in the nation, if not the first, that appointed a tobacco prevention program, which was a part of the city budget, because it cared so much for the health and wellness of its residents. And it has stayed. Our role has been educational and to support the good initiatives that you've supported over the years. I used to practice not far from here, about less than half a block, for about 30 years as a family doctor. It's a family town. And today I work for Illinois Medicaid for the poor. It's a program for the poor, 3.2 million people. And that's about 25% of the state's population. And the reason I tell you this is because I see the disease caused by smoking, directly and indirectly. And out of the $22 billion a year that the state government spends for medical care of the poor, approximately $1.9 billion a year is due to smoking. Having said that, as of this time, tobacco use still, after all what you hear, every agency of the federal government, state government is conscious, is working to reduce smoking rates. In spite of that, it remains the most preventable health hazard in terms of what you can do to prevent disease. I wouldn't name all the diseases, but it kills 480,000 people in the United States every single year. 18,300 in Illinois as of 2 years ago. That's the last year that I have numbers for. Most adult users of tobacco had their first cigarette at tender age of 11.3 years. It's 4th or 5th grade. And recognized that approximately 95% of people who smoke regularly as adults, they started their first cigarette under the age of 21. Many of them before 18, but the moment you have your first cigarette, there is at least a 33% chance that you'll never be able to quit. So the National Youth Tobacco Survey, it does an annual survey on tobacco every year. They came out with their annual report for 2018 as of yesterday. So when I read it, I said, what a perfect timing for you, right? And for us. It said that 27% of high school students and 7.2% of middle school students smoked. Most of them had tried both the regular cigarettes and the vaping. And vaping is a phenomenon which is increasing by leaps and bounds for the past 5 years. 38% increase amongst high school students and 28% in middle school students within a year. The last survey was 2017, this is 2018.
Dr. Goya, about 40 more seconds, please. Thank you.
Yes. 34% of suburban Cook County 12th grade students have used tobacco. I want to say that the ordinance that is before you today will reduce access to those under 21 to tobacco. And if you are able to do that here, I think it would be a big accomplishment way ahead of the state, which is expected to pass the ordinance, Tobacco 21, this summer. Last year it was vetoed by the governor. City has another chance to adopt this ordinance, and it is for everybody's good. Thank you very kindly.
Thank you, Doctor. The next signatory is Dr. Susan Kern.
Thank you, Mayor Reshna, and the members of the City Council. I really appreciate the opportunity to also testify in favor of the pending ordinance, which increases the age from 18 to 21 for sale of tobacco products, including e-cigarette products. I'm also a member of the township. I'm a Palatine Township trustee, so I think I may know several of you in that from that venue. I also represent members of the Chicago Cook County Medical Society and the Illinois State Medical Society, which I have served for 30 years in leadership positions, representing the physicians of the northwest suburbs of Cook County. So speaking on behalf of them, I want to let you know that both the Cook County Chicago Medical Society and the Illinois State Medical Society have passed policy supporting raising the age for smoking from 18 to 21, and this was many years ago. We've also provided testimony to the City of Chicago when they were in the process of passing their ordinance, which raises the level of age to age 21. And we feel that it was very important for physicians to be at the table and part of that testimony. And I believe that was one of the reasons it was successful, is that the physicians of this state endorse this resolution and to protect the youth of our state. And I should also mention that our leadership in the state, and we have lobbyists down there, will also be providing testimony when Tobacco 21 is reintroduced, as Dr. Goyle alluded to. So we will be at the table again testifying robustly in favor of passing of this ordinance. And just a last little tidbit. I served as I'm a physician, I'm a pathologist. I was at Northwest Community Hospital for over 20 years, and prior to that, I served on active duty in the United States Army in their medical corps. And I have to tell you that when we went on maneuvers, they gave us leftover provisions from previous wars, and included in them, besides cans of food, were cigarettes. And I'm saying this because the Army, unfortunately, for many years, for decades, encouraged smoking among young recruits. And as a pathologist, I saw the outcome of chronic cigarette use among the military, particularly young individuals. So I would urge you to support the resolution that you have so wisely put forward, making Rolling Meadows one of the additional suburban municipalities that will raise the age from 18 to 21 for sale of products, including e-cigarettes. Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming forward. Our next signatory is Ryan Daly. Please come to the microphone. Thank you for coming forward.
All right, thank you. City Council, my name's Ryan Daly. I'm at 5100 Sunset Drive, and I'm here to talk about the proposed sewer line for Brookview and Sunset. And, excuse me, for those of you who aren't aware, my neighborhood has septic systems there, and next year we're going to redo the road and repave it. So Public Works was smart enough to say, since we're going to be redoing the road, why don't we put some sewer lines in, save some money so we don't have to rip the roads up. And I'm glad they're thinking ahead, which is good. I have identified 3 issues that I would like City Council to be aware of with this project. One issue is the cost. Second issue is resident support. And the third issue is the land acquisition. So the first issue is cost. The city's looking to pay for 50% of the cost, and the homeowners would pay for the other 50%. So just to get the sewer line in the road, each house would have to pay $16,600 just to put a sewer line in the road. Now to connect, that cost goes up to $41,660. So by doing nothing, by putting a sewer line in, every house is going to get a bill for over $16,000. And yeah, it could be spread out over 20 years, but that is $833 a year for 20 years. So that will mean our property taxes will go up and our house values will go down with a special assessment on there. The second issue is support. So referencing the Committee of the Whole agenda from January 15th, out of 22 property owners, 11 are supportive of the project. So that's barely 50%. Now you can argue that maybe it's 20 houses or 21 houses. The point is that this is just barely 50%, and there's not an overwhelming majority of people that want to do this. Most people don't want to spend $16,000 to have a pipe out at the road. The third issue is the land acquisition. So there's a design here. I don't know if anybody's looked at this, but on the north side of Sunset, this design is drawn on private property. So right now, this design cannot be built because it's on private property. So the city's going to have to acquire land in order to do this. And according to the survey, a majority of the responses says they want the land appraised and then have the city purchase the land. A majority said that they would want to negotiate the sale of the land to reduce this cost of $16,000. And 2 people don't even want to give up the land. So this can get potentially very ugly if we're talking about land acquisition. So I would say if the city wants to proceed with this, I would recommend either moving this on a public land or acquiring the land first. Because what I don't want to see happen is we get a bid for $16,000 or whatever it ends up being, and then 1 or 2 houses don't want to do it. Then it's going to have to get redesigned. It's going to have to get rerouted. So I would just say that if the city wants to do it, I recommend getting the land first, just so we know where we can go. And then after that, we can design it, put it out for bid, figure out how much it's going to cost. So for those reasons, due to the costs of, for each resident, the lukewarm support, I'm asking if this does proceed, and to consider acquiring the land first, and then that way we can know what we can do. Because right now, this plan cannot be built. And I would just like the city council to be aware of that. Thank you.
Thank you for coming forward. The next signatory, Corey, is it H-O-H-S? Hoy?
Yeah, Haas.
Haas.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I'm here today. I'm looking to address 19R21. So my name's Corey. I'm a CEO and one of the founders of a company called Haas Alert. We focus on helping to remove collisions from first responders, public safety vehicles, police, fire, EMS. We work with construction companies, utility. Already this year across the United States, there's been 10 first responders struck and killed while at the scene of an incident. Myself, I was almost struck and killed by an ambulance. And so this is really what spurred the company to where it is today. We've actually been working with the City of Rolling Meadows Fire Department for a few months now. Actually, the city, just with the few fire trucks that we've been piloting in, has alerted over 4,000 drivers in navigation apps such as Waze. So we've seen this as something beneficial to the city. One of the things we also do is we like to say there's no city should be priced out of safety. So we're a Department of Homeland Security contract company. Been successful getting grants for municipalities from NHTSA, various DOTs. We work with Federal Highway, NTSB, all on helping to push digital learning within communities and making sure it's not only a state funded technology, but also at the local level. So National Safety Council is a grant that's federally funded that we're a member of. They have a program called Road to Zero. So this focuses on helping to bring zero collisions. And so we've taken it upon ourselves to recognize that as zero deaths and collisions for first responders. Actually, police, fire, EMS collisions are the biggest death and injury rate. It's not fires and fighting crime. So all of the issues come down to helping to prevent collisions. There's a National Safety Council grant that I mentioned. It was filled out. This was not a contract. This has no commitment. There's nothing that the city is actually committed to. As standard grant processes go, a lot of people apply to these. Nothing is actually formal until you receive a letter, hopefully the city saying, hey, this is being offered to you. Would you like to take it? I think there were some questions that had come up. Was this a contract that was signed? Were funds exchanged? I know one of the gentlemen had called one of our customers and was trying to figure out what was going on, although we didn't get any calls ourselves. So I'm not sure who exactly it was. Our customer had just called us. But what's key here is this is a grant. Maybe the city gets it, maybe it doesn't. I know there's thousands of cities that are applying for this. And if the city doesn't want to do it, all they have to do when it's awarded is say, we don't want it. And, as a small business owner, we would urge the city not to pull this, because if the city does get it awarded and doesn't want to do it, we can always give it to Arlington Heights, Palatine. I grew up in Rolling Meadows, so we do want to bring the safety solutions to the Chicago suburbs. So I would say that since the process has gone through, there's a non-committal on the paperwork on the grant that was submitted. Let it sit. If it comes back and is awarded and the city doesn't want to participate, they don't have to. I do want to make clear there's zero costs for the city. This is a project for 3 years. Takes 15 minutes per vehicle to be activated. This is not a lot of city time. It includes marketing, it includes installation, it includes devices, it includes service. There's literally nothing that the city has to do. If at the end of the 3 years the city doesn't want to participate, there's no cost to the city to remove it. We've, out of the 50, almost 65 now departments that we're in, not one person has removed the service. But just wanted to make it clear on what those details were. And I'm not sure what the process is here, but if there's any questions from the committee, I'd be happy to answer anything right now.
Thank you for coming forward.
Great.
The next signatory is Patricia Callahan. Please step forward. Thank you for coming forward.
Thank you, Mayor Pran. And good evening, Council. I just wanted to go ahead and share a few thoughts on the mayoral, sorry, I'm having vision issues. The mayoral panel that I saw last night. It is my understanding that we are going to have another housing project come over to the Dominic site that is, I guess, interested at that site. One of the things I want to express is that you, the council, does have a choice as to what Clark Street does with that piece of property. You can tell them that we do not want all 11 acres, or I guess what is it? 2 parcels of 3/4 of an acre each. That's an acre and a half, is what the last plan was, and then the rest would be housing. So we're looking at 11 acres minus an acre and a half. So we're looking at 9.5 acres of homes. You can reject that. You have the power as the council. At one point, Kirchhoff was our main street in this city, and we can take that piece of property and we can turn it into commercial property, or we can do mixed uses, because the city has the power to do that, because Heads and Beds does not bring retail, because we have no space for retail. We have Heads and Beds. They're already here. We have no space for retail if we put Heads and Beds on that space. Where are we going to put retail? If we have an acre and a half for restaurants, where are we going to put more retail in our downtown? We don't have any space because we've given it up for Heads and Beds. Where are they going to go? They're going to go to Arlington Heights, they're going to go to Schaumburg, and they're going to go to Palatine, because we do not have the space for retail. Because it's the other way around. Business brings in people. And that's what we need to do. You guys have the power to go ahead and tell Clark Street, no, I really don't think we should do, that plan isn't viable. I really think that you need to go ahead and look at that space as. And you guys can do that. You have the power. If it sits vacant, well, they're paying taxes. Because this is our main street right here. This is our city's main street. And we can make it a place where people come to. And also, too, I also find that when it comes to the firehouses, it's kind of disappointing that we're taking a fire station on Hicks Road that has got drive-through bays. Now, wasn't that one of the problems and one of the reasons why we did not rebuild and rehabilitate our fire station on Meadow Drive? Because they have to back into the bays. And now the new one up on Hicks Road, a brand spanking new fire station, is going to have back-in bays because the lot is not going to allow drive-through bays. That's kind of doing things in reverse, don't you think? I think what you guys all need to do is kind of maybe step back a little bit and do some planning. Planning works. When we rush to do things, think about it. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Ms. Callahan, for coming forward. The council now moves to the first order of business. Consent ordinances in for the second reading. Ordinance number 19-06 is to approve a request to to modify an existing special use to allow additional cars to be parked for sale on the site and allow all mechanical repairs to be performed on the site 3975 Algonquin Road, Luxury Import Autos Incorporated. This was postponed from the January 22nd, 19 City Council meeting. Excuse me. At the January 8th, 2019 City Council meeting, 2 amendments were requested to the original ordinance draft. A, to increase the total number of vehicles allowed to be parked on the site from 22 to 24. Originally 15 vehicles for sale, to be changed to 17 vehicles for sale. And B, to revise the required height of landscaping along Algonquin Road. Both amendments are reflected in the draft ordinance as presented herein. As a result of the requested amendment, staff visited the site and checked the proposed site plan against the approval site plan for the new billboard being constructed on the site. It was verified per Alderman Cannon's observation that the 3 concrete pillars were indeed removed on the north side of the building to facilitate the placement of the crane for the installation of a billboard support post. Each of the concrete pillars had previously supported a parking lot pole. The approved site plan for the billboard did not identify the 3 pillars and lighting structure for removal. The petitioner is proposing for an alternative means of providing site lighting to the parking area along the north side of the building by the placement of lighting mounted on the 3975 Algonquin Road building wall, lighting mounted on the new billboard support post, or by some combination of locations. A photometric plan has been provided to the city staff to review and approve. For approval, the existing permit for the billboard will need to be revised. This action would allow for the ability to provide 2 additional parking spaces at the site to increase the total number of vehicles to 24, including the number of vehicles for sale to be increased to 17. Staff is recommending the addition of a condition number 14 to the ordinance as follows. This petition must cause for the replacement of previously existed site lighting that was removed by the billboard construction contractor in a manner acceptable to the city to equal lighting levels that previously existed at the site on the north side of the building. Do I have a motion to amend this ordinance based on staff recommendation?
So
Mr.
moved.
Cannon's made it.
Second.
And it has been seconded. Is there discussion? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Baner.
Yes.
Diastis.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Cannon.
Yes.
Bud Matts.
Yes.
Majikis.
Yes.
Gallo.
Yes.
With 7-4 and none opposed, that ordinance is amended. I now need a motion to put that ordinance forward as amended. Mr. Cannon?
Second.
And Mr. Diastis. Is there any discussion? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Diastis.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Cannon.
Yes.
Bud Matts.
Yes.
Majikis.
Yes.
Gallo.
Yes.
Baner.
Yes.
7 in favor, none opposed. The ordinance is approved as amended. Congratulations, sir. It was a long trip, but you made it. We're proud to have you here. Ordinance number 19-07 is to amend the ordinance to increase the age to purchase tobacco and electronic cigarette products. This ordinance, if adopted, would increase the age to purchase tobacco and electronic cigarette products from 18 to 21. Is there a motion to adopt that ordinance? Ms. Majikis has made that motion. Mr. Baner has seconded. Is there any discussion? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Williams.
Yes.
Cannon.
Yes.
Bud Matts.
Yes.
Majikis.
Yes.
Gallo.
Yes.
Baner.
Yes.
Diastis.
Yes.
7 in favor, none opposed. The ordinance is approved. This brings us to ordinance C. Number 19-08 is to amend the Raymond Rose Plan Development for the additional signage and parking lot landscape island installation, preserves at Woodfield, 4700 Arbor Drive. This ordinance, if adopted, would allow an amendment to the existing Ramlin Rose planned development to allow a modified sign in a new location at the site and the installation of several curved landscape islands within a portion of the site parking lot. The new signage is proposed to be installed at the main entry to the preserves at Whitfield, located at 4700 Arbor Drive. The change in signage is considered to be a positive change for the site. The landscape islands are requested by the petitioner to act as a traffic control for the site, encouraging drivers to slow down. It will also add some green space to the site. Is there a motion to adopt this ordinance? Mr. Baner has made it. Ms. Majikis has seconded. Is there any discussion? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Cannon.
Yes.
Bud Matts.
Yes.
Majikis.
Yes.
Gallo.
Yes.
Baner.
Yes.
Diastis.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
With 7 in favor and none opposed, this ordinance does move forward. Ordinance D, number 19-09, is to approve a liquor license application for a Class A2 liquor license for Donato Restaurant Groups Incorporated, doing business as Isabel's Cafe at 5540 New Wilkie Road. This ordinance, if adopted, would approve an application for a Class A2 liquor license. This liquor license application is being requested by Donato Restaurant Group, doing business as Isabel's Cafe. Donato Restaurant Group Incorporated is also the owners of Anna's Red Apple Pancake House, located at 2121 Plum Grove Road. The new restaurant, cafe, and video gaming establishment will be located at 5540 New Wilkie Road in the Old Spice Grill. They are in the final process of completing the build-out and hope to open in April. Is there a motion to adopt? Ms. Majikis has made that. Do I have a second? Second. Mr. Williams, thank you. Is there any discussion? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Bud Matts.
Yes.
Majikis.
Yes.
Gallo.
Yes.
Baner.
Yes.
Diastis.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Cannon.
Yes.
Excuse me, with 7 in favor and none opposed, that ordinance is approved. This brings us to ordinance E, number 19-10, is to amend the alcohol liquor code to approve a Class G1 liquor license for video gaming for Donato Restaurant Group, doing business as Anna's Red Apple, located at 2121 South Plum Grove Road. The ordinance, if adopted, would approve the city's third Class G1 liquor license for video gaming in the city of Rolling Meadows. The Illinois Gaming Board is in the process of reviewing and hopefully approving the video gaming license for Anna's Red Apple, which is located at 2121 South Plum Grove Road. Is there a motion to adopt this ordinance?
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Diastis has made that motion. Do I have it? Ms. Majikis has seconded. Is there any discussion? Mr. Cannon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to make an amendment to this. I'm for this license, but I would like to ask that we include in here that the owner of this property advertises that they're in the city of Rolling Meadows. Their website says they're in Palatine. Even their web address is Palatine. I would request that all their advertising they do in public, either on the internet or in paper form, include the city of Rolling Meadows in there somehow.
I'm not sure how Mr. Crumstock, or I'm looking, it's the mailing address.
I think it's more of an attorney thing, because I don't know if a municipality can dictate that.
I think it's more of a federal government post office question.
I do agree with you, Mr. Cannon. I'm just not sure we can fight the U.S. Post Office.
I mean, we can put it in. I just don't know. I mean,
I just want the acknowledgement that it's in Rolling Meadows. That's all.
I totally get it. Maybe they could put Rolling Meadows in parentheses.
That's fine.
Or something.
That's all. That's all I want.
I understand, but I don't know what they can do.
Okay.
So you're asking that they amended that they have to advertise they're in Rolling Meadows?
Yeah. That's what I'm requesting. Unless it's illegal, I'm assuming it's legal. I just want them. So again, their web address says they're in Palatine.
I understand.
It's not a question of whether it's unlawful. It's just if their mailing address is Palatine, it's Palatine. I mean,
but even their web address, web address, they have Anna's Apple House of Palatine.
Well, maybe we could ask them to make that Rolling
That would be
Meadows.
great. Maybe we could make it as a suggestion then.
That'd be better.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
I
Thanks.
prefer that, again, just what has been stated, prefer, because the ordinance really just deals with the liquor. We can have those continued conversations, as you know, when you've sat through some meetings with me. I do make that request of
Okay.
certain.
I'm selfish because it's my ward, and I just would like to get the acknowledgement that it's actually in Rolling Meadows. Not that I need to get the acknowledgement.
Well,
Thanks.
there are a couple more restaurants coming by.
No, I know. I would like all of them to make sure that
I
they know they're in
understand,
Rolling
right.
Meadows, that's all.
Right on that corner, if we could.
Including the ramen house.
So is there any further, do you withdraw the motion?
I'll withdraw my motion.
Thank you. Is there further discussion? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Majikis.
Yes.
Gallo.
Yes.
Baner.
Yes.
Diastis.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Cannon.
Yes.
Bud Matts.
Yes.
7 in favor, 0 opposed. The ordinance is approved. Ordinance F, number 19-11, is to amend the Alcohol Liquor Code to approve a Class G1 liquor license for video gaming for Reps Place Sports Burgers and Beer located at 3200 Kirchhoff Road. This ordinance, if adopted, would approve the city's 4th G1 liquor license for video gaming in the city of Rolling Meadows. The Illinois Gaming Board is in the process of reviewing and hopefully approving a video gaming license for Reps Place Sports Burgers and Beers, which is located at 3200 Kirchhoff Road. Do I have a motion to move forward? Ms. Majikis has made that. I have a second from Mr. Williams. Is there any discussion? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Gallo.
Yes.
Baner.
Yes.
Diastis.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Cannon.
Yes.
Bud Matts.
Yes.
Majikis.
Yes.
7 approved and unopposed. The ordinance does move forward. The ordinance is approved. Ordinance G, number 19-12, is to approve the issuance of general obligation bond series number 20, in series 2019. This ordinance, if adopted, would authorize the issuance of 2019 general obligation bonds not to exceed the principal amount of $8,500,000. Proceeds from the bond sale will fund the remaining expenditures for the construction of 2 new fire stations, including land acquisition, demolition of existing structures, engineering and design costs, and the acquisition of furniture, fixtures, and equipment, and for the water, main underground utilities, capital infrastructure projects. Is there a motion to adopt this ordinance? Mr. Cannon has made that motion. Do I have a second? Mr. Baner has. Is there discussion? Mr. Budmetz, sir.
Yep, this ordinance is to borrow money. We haven't even used the money we borrowed last year. I think it's unwise to acquire the debt until such time as we need it. We haven't done anything on the our contractor hasn't done anything on the fire station due to the weather since December the 1st. And now we're paying interest on bonds that we haven't even used. And we're looking at acquiring more bonds. I really think that it's time to take a step back and wait until we actually need the money. Why do we need to acquire more debt, for something that we haven't even spent the last debt that we've acquired? So, I would recommend that we do not vote for this at this time. That doesn't mean it's not necessary, it just means we don't need it now. So why don't we spend what we've already borrowed before we borrow more?
Thank you, Mr. Budmetz. Further discussion? Mr. Gallo?
I'm not saying that we don't need the funding, but I don't agree with the appropriation of the funding. I do believe that there are other projects and capital improvement projects that would benefit from this funding. So at this time, I would again not support it the same as last.
Thank you. Is there further discussion? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Baner.
Yes.
Diastis.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Cannon.
Yes.
Bud Matts.
No.
Majikis.
Yes.
Gallo.
No.
5 in favor and 2 opposed. That ordinance does pass for second reading. Ordinance H, number 19-13, property tax levy abatement ordinance for the 2018 bond series. This ordinance, if adopted, would abate the taxes for the fiscal year beginning January 1st, 2019, and ending December 31st, 2019, for the city of Rolling Meadows, Cook County, Illinois, 2018 general obligation bonds. The city's 2018 bond closing occurred after the city adopted the fiscal year 2019 budget. Therefore, the city would need to adopt an additional abatement ordinance to avoid adding the amount of the fiscal year 2019 bond payment to the property tax levy. Do I have a motion to adopt this ordinance?
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Diastis has made that motion. Do I have a second? Mr. Cannon has seconded. Is there discussion? Yes, Mr. Gallo.
I just have some questions being assisted along the way. Maybe hold my hand into how this works out financially, because the way I read it from the packet, it seems like it's essentially a shell game and we're just moving money around, so we don't have to say for what and when we borrowed actual money, because we're paying back money from reserves that were supposed to be going toward 2018 bonds, which is essentially the fire station. So can you help me understand that? So when it's time to talk to residents about how we borrow our money, what this actually does and how this works?
Ms. Gallagher, I believe that would be your department.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Alderman Gallo, the budget was approved for 2019 with the two-part process, meaning that we accumulated reserves in the general fund for the debt service payment that will occur for the 2018-2019 bonds. That debt service payment doesn't occur until July for debt, and the principal payment doesn't occur until December 2019. The property tax was approved with reserves in that for the 2019 budget. And so the purpose of this ordinance is to abate the amount that is located in the bond ordinance that was the 2018 debt service bond ordinance. That was the intent all the way through the budget process and also through the bond issuance process. The bond proposal ordinance that was approved for 2018 included this amount, which was $696,000, the first principal and interest payment for the 2018 bonds, and that was to be abated. That was the intent all the way through. The closing took place December 18, 2018, and the purpose of this is to abate that so it does not appear on the property tax levy for this year.
So essentially, it means it doesn't appear as though our property tax levies increased as a result of our 2018 borrowings? Is that?
Not at all.
Okay.
It's fully transparent through the budget process. Again, as we mentioned before, that levy that was created for this budget year is reflected in our 2019 budget, and it shows in the tax levy that we have already appropriated, that this was already the intent of the bond ordinance, was to abate this amount after the fact of the tax levy, after the debt service closing.
Okay, so a layperson wouldn't interpret it as we're just shifting money so we don't have to recognize paying back or increase taxes in the future as a result of the first borrowings for the fire station, the first round of fire station funding.
Alderman Gallo, there is no shifting of money. I would be very clear that we file all of our regulations for the MSRB, which is the Municipal Securities Exchange Board, and in the SEC. We also go through bond counsel and our city attorney review.
I'm not applying shifting.
And also what I would tell you is that this was all laid out in the bond issuance process, and the bond counsel has already outlined that we would be doing this through the tax abatement process.
Sure.
So
you.
it doesn't appear on this levy year. So I just want to clarify that.
Perfect.
Further discussion? Will the clerk please call the roll?
I'll discuss a little.
I'm sorry, did you want to say?
Just a bit.
Well, Mr. Budmetz, just say, hi, Mayor, next
Hi,
time.
Mayor.
Hi. Kind of hard to know when you're in the corner there. Thank you.
Over here, you were going fast. Okay, so the deal is I understand the budget process, and I understand what Alderman Gallo's asking. And the truth is that I think the people of Rolling Meadows have integrity, that we're the kind of people that when we say we're going to do something, we're going to do it. When we buy something, we pay for it. When this council voted to build 2 stations for $15 million, the people understand that they're going to have to pay for it. It just feels like if we have the courage to tell the people that they're going to spend $15 million for fire stations, we should just tell them, hey, your taxes are going to go up for that. And we're not going to just tell them, oh, no, it's only going up 2%, and then next year it really goes up 4.7%. So why don't we just pay for it when we buy it type thing. And so I'm not going to be voting for this. I understand the concept. I understand the whole deal. But the truth is, to me, it feels in some ways like a little dishonest that, that we're not really raising your taxes, but then next year we really raise your taxes. So I just have a hard time voting for this.
Thank you, Mr. Budmetz. Further discussion? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Diastis.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Cannon.
Yes.
Bud Matts.
No.
Majikis.
Yes.
Gallo.
No.
Baner.
Yes.
5 in favor and 2 opposed. The ordinance is approved. Okay, ordinance number 19-14 is to terminate property tax levy for the Special Services Area Number 5, Kirchhoff Stormwater Improvements Utilities Fund Number 20. This ordinance, if adopted, would terminate the property tax levy for the city's Special Service Area Number 5 taxing district for water main improvements in the Hicks Industrial Road area. The final tax levy was $69,458.62 and expired on December 31st, 2018, with the fiscal year 2018 budget. Is there a motion to adopt this ordinance?
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Diastis has made that. Mr. Baner has seconded it. It was a close tie there, Rob. I just couldn't tell who was up there. Is there any discussion? Will the clerk, Mr.
No discussion at all.
Just want to make sure, Mr. Budmatz, if you raise your hand and say something next time, it's okay. Okay, will the clerk please call the roll?
Williams.
Yes.
Cannon.
Yes.
Bud Matts.
Yes.
Majikis.
Yes.
Gallo.
Yes.
Baner.
Yes.
Diastis.
Yes.
7 in favor and none opposed. The ordinance is approved. Ordinance number 19-15 is to amend the fiscal year 2019 budget and staffing plan. The ordinance, if adopted, will amend the fiscal year budget and staffing plan for the Community Development Division of Public Works. The part-time position of Community Development Clerk Typist will be changed to full-time. Is there a motion to adopt this ordinance?
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Diastis has done that. Mr. Williams has said, I will second that. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Cannon.
Yes.
Bud Matts.
Yes.
Majikis.
Yes.
Gallo.
Yes.
Baner.
Yes.
Diastis.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes. 7 in favor and none opposed. This ordinance is approved. This brings us to consent ordinances for the first reading. The next item on the agenda, it consists of 3 items, K through M. Does any alderman wish to remove an item from the consent agenda for ordinances? Mr. Budmatz. Any others? Mr. Baner?
Y and Z.
We're not there. K, L, M, N, okay, all right, just,
Okay.
so, is there any, okay, just checking. See, that leaves us with two ordinances K and L. The chair declares it in one motion to consider these 2 ordinances. Do I have a motion? Mr. Baner, and we have a second. To declare it in one motion without debate. Ordinance A is number 19-00, is to amend the liquor license code to reduce Class A1 to 5 and reduce Class B to 7. The total number and classification of liquor licenses for the city is determined by the city council. If any license of any class is not renewed or the license is surrendered, canceled, revoked, suspended, or otherwise terminated, such licenses shall be rescinded and not be revoked or otherwise terminated, shall be rescinded and not be restored, and the total number of liquor licenses of that class to be issued by the city shall be reduced accordingly. Class B liquor license update. The Fresca Supermarket will not be renewing their City of Rolling Meadows Class B liquor license. In addition, we recently learned that Bell's Liquor License, which has held a Class B liquor license from the city, has closed and therefore has relinquished their license and will no longer be operating a liquor store in the city. Class A1 is the Holiday Inn, currently closed, and substantial renovation and rebuilding is underway in regards to the Class A1 liquor license, and that they held. The license has been relinquished due to the said improvement in the hotel. Ordinance L is number 1900, is to amend 106-18A of the City Code, parking prohibited in specific places, especially on Keystone Court. This ordinance, if adopted, would establish parking restrictions in certain locations on a public street in the city, specifically on Keystone Court. The inclusion of the street location within the City Code Traffic Section 106-18A will establish enforcement of traffic regulations and consist of posting of signs. Specifically, the location of the additional parking prohibition is to be Keystone west side of the street from a point 345 feet south of Algonquin Road, south edge of pavement, to a point 410 feet south of Algonquin Road, south edge of the pavement. The reason for the parking prohibition recommendation is that this location has a number of neighboring business patrons parking on the street. Motorist visibility is compromised, and navigating the nearby driveway. A 90-day temporary posting of no parking sign in this location has been successful in remedying the problem with no hardship. On-street parking has been prohibited on the east side of Keystone Court for many years. The area businesses have all on-site parking lot of patrons, employees, and operations. Again, the question is, shall these two ordinances be moved forward for a second reading? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Bud Matts.
Yes.
Majikis.
Yes.
Gallo.
Yes.
Baner.
Yes.
Diastis.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Cannon.
Yes.
With 7 forward and none opposed, those two ordinances move forward. This brings us to Ordinance M. Amend Chapter 18 of the Building and Building Regulations Code of Ordinances Rental Dwelling License Program. This ordinance, if adopted, would remove the sunset provision of the established in the rental dwelling license program administered by the Community Development Division of the Public Works. This program has been in place for over 25 years. It operates smoothly and efficiently and has had very few problems. It has been a prototype for other communities. Staff is recommending keeping the program in full effect and removing the sunset clause to make this program a non-expiring and permanent. Do I have a motion to move this ordinance forward? Mr. Baner has made that. Mr. Cannon has seconded. Mr. Bud Matts, I believe you have first.
Yeah.
I'm going to get you to use your name one way or the other there, but go ahead, Mr. Bud Matts.
Thank you, Mayor Prina. First, a legal question. This ordinance is already expired, so do we have the option to extend it? If it's already expired, or do we have to reintroduce it?
I think what we've done in the past is we just went ahead and removed that sunset provision so it would stay in effect.
Okay. The fact that the staff didn't catch this before it expired, I'm wondering if they had the chance to fully evaluate it thoroughly, or if they just caught it at the last second that it was missed. I wish to modify the proposed ordinance and ask that we extend the sunset provision for 1 year so that we can give the staff the opportunity to consider things like Airbnbs or VRBOs, which have come into vogue since this act was passed. Maybe those are in effect. I know that Schaumburg went and they changed their policies based on these kind of new economic realities, and maybe we need to do the same thing as well. So I would like to make an amendment and ask that we extend it for 1 year to 12, as it currently exists, to 12/31/2019, and let staff come back to us and tell us if changes need to be made to the existing policy because of those new economic realities.
Hey, do we have a second to Mr. Bud Matts? Mr. Cannon has seconded. Is there a discussion on the amendment? So we're amending this policy, we're amending this ordinance for 1 year with a sunset clause. Okay. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Majikis.
Yes.
Gallo.
Yes.
Baner.
Yes.
Diastis.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Cannon.
Yes.
Bud Matts.
Yes.
7 in favor, none opposed. We're there. We go back to ordinance M. Well, do I have a motion to move that forward to pass that ordinance as amended? Mr. Banger has made that. Mr. Cannon has seconded. Is there any discussion on the ordinance as amended? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Gallo.
Yes.
Baner.
Yes.
Diastis.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Cannon.
Yes.
Bud Matts.
Yes.
Majikis.
Yes.
7 in favor and none opposed. This ordinance is passed as amended. This brings us to new business, which is the motion to approve payments of bills on the warrant for 2/12/19. Is there a motion to approve the warrant? Mr. Banger has made that motion. Is there a second? Mr. Robb? I'm glad that you guys are at least one seat apart because it's the Rob and Rob. Thank you. Is there any discussion on the payment of warrants for 2/12/19? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Baner.
Yes.
Diastis.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Cannon. Bud Matts.
Yes.
Majikis.
Yes.
Gallo.
Yes.
7 in favor, none opposed. The warrant is approved. The next item on the agenda are the consent resolutions. It consists of 12 items, items O through Z. Does any alderman wish to remove any items from the consent agenda for resolutions? Mr. Gallo?
Y and Z.
Any other? I'm sorry, I didn't hear it. I didn't hear it.
I had my hand up.
Well, actually, the protocol is Mr. Mayor.
Oh, Mr. Mayor.
So the people at home know who you are. Go ahead.
Mr. Mayor.
And your wife's going to want to know, too.
She knows who I am. X, please. You move that way.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Cannon, congratulations. I want to thank you.
VW, or let's say V and W also.
I'm sorry, that was B?
V as in Victor.
Yes, B.
V.
B and W, or just W?
V.
V,
W.
just V.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you for articulating. Is there anything else that we'd like to? That gives us 8, okay. The chair declares in order in one motion to consider all 8, I'm sorry. 7, I'm sorry, in all 7, thank you. All 7 resolutions in one motion without debate. Is there such a motion? Mr. Banger has made that. Is there a second? Mr. Bud Matts. The question is, shall all resolutions be adopted? Resolution O, number 19-R-11, is to approve the submittal of a grant application for the Algonquin-New Wilkie Road Phase 1 preliminary engineering. This resolution, if adopted, would authorize the city to submit a grant application to Cook County Department of Transportation and Highways for the Invest in Cook program. This is the third year of this grant funding program. Resolution P, number 19-R-12, is to award a contract for engineering services for 2019 Sanitary Sewer Rehabilitation Program number 2. This resolution, if adopted, would authorize the award of a professional service contract for engineering design and inspection services for the 2019 annual Sanitary Sewer and Storm Sewer Rehabilitation Program. RJN Group Incorporated, Wheaton, Illinois, has provided the necessary engineering services for most sanitary sewer and storm sewer infrastructure maintenance projects for the past several years, along with assistance with the annual MWRD inflow and infiltration point report. I feel like I'm reading Gone with the Wind some evenings. Q is the resolution of 19-R-13 is to authorize the execution of intergovernmental agreement between Cook County on behalf of the Cook County Sheriff and City of Rolling Meadows Police Department for provision of the wide area network equipment and connectivity. This resolution, if adopted, would authorize the Rolling Meadows Police Department to use the Cook County Sheriff's Department countywide criminal apprehension booking system, CABIS, at no cost, as a no-cost alternative. The county, through the Office of the Sheriff, will provide a live scan system, electronic film fingerprinting scanning device, which will include a computer, fingerprint scanner, cabinet monitor, camera, and printer. This will allow the Rolling Meadows Police Department to transmit fingerprints, digital photos, and other information to the Cook County law enforcement agencies and the Illinois State Police. In exchange, the department will provide a safe and secure location for the equipment and appropriate lines and utility services. Resolution R, number 19-R-14, is to award a contract for the purchase of the Genesis Rescue Systems extrication equipment. This resolution, if adopted, would authorize the purchase of 2 full-set electric cordless powered rescue extrication equipment from Equipment Management Company. The purchase would consist of 2 cutting tools, 2 spreaders, 2 rams, and a full complement of battery power packs. S, resolution number 19-R-15 is to award a contract for the ADA modification of traffic signals on Kirchhoff Road at 6 intersections, change order number 1. This resolution, if adopted, would authorize a contract with Mead Electric to furnish materials and labor for the proposed American with Disabilities Act. Modifications to be completed with the traffic signal improvements and modifications at 6 intersections on Kirchhoff Road. On December 18, 2018, the city awarded a contract to Mead Electric to furnish the materials and labor to upgrade the traffic signals at 6 intersections along Kirchhoff Road. Due to the oversight by staff, the proposed work to update the ADA signal staffs was not included in the proposal. The adoption of the ADA transportation plan requires that the city complete these improvements due to federal funds being used to resurface Kirchhoff Road. T, resolution number 19-R-16 is to award a professional design engineering services contract for the Weber Drive Waverly Park Water Main Improvements Project. This resolution, if adopted, would authorize the award of a contract in the amount of not to exceed $98,177.21 for professional design engineering services needed to replace approximately 7,600 linear feet of water main along Weber Drive in the Waverly Park subdivision. This project was identified as the highest priority utility project associated with the recent City Council actions related to the issuance of an infrastructure bond upcoming in 2019. Resolution number 19-R-17 is to award a contract for Phase 2 of the Water Systems SCADA Telemetry Project. This resolution, if adopted, would award a contract to Concentric Integration for $84,800, which will authorize the second of 2 phases project needed to update the city's water system SCADA telemetry network. The second phase of this project includes the installation, programming, and system activation of the newly built programmable logic controller, equipment panels, and the new cellular modems completed during the first phase of the project. Completion of this phase project will allow SCADA water computer to communicate through a new private secured cellular network to the potable water stations throughout the city with far more reliable service at a significantly lower cost. W.
No.
I'm sorry.
No, it was pulled.
Sorry. I'm sorry, Mike. You pulled both.
Yeah.
Thank you. The question again is, shall all seven resolutions be adopted? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Diastis.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Cannon.
Yes.
Bud Matts.
Yes.
Majikis.
Yes.
Gallo.
Yes.
Baner.
Yes.
7 in favor, none opposed. All 7 resolutions are adopted. That brings us to Resolution V, number 19-R-18, authorize the submittal of a grant application for a congestion mitigation and air quality program for Quinton Road, Hartung Road bike path. This resolution, if adopted, would authorize the submittal of a grant application to CMAQ for the proposed construction of a bike path on Quinton Road in several gap locations between Highland Drive and Hartung Road, including the crossing of Salt Creek, and on Hartung Road between Quinton Road and Fox Lake. The route is to be identified in the city's master. The route is identified in the city's master bike path plan. Do I have a motion to move this forward? Mr. Baner has made that motion. Do I have a second? Ms. Majikis? Mr. Cannon?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. W and X kind of go together, so I guess I can talk about both of them at the same time. Obviously, this idea is very close to my heart. Long before I became an alderman, I petitioned the city council back about 15, 18 years.
Oh, excuse me, Mr. Cannon. We're on V. You said W and X.
I'm sorry, V and W. I'm sorry. Excuse me. I'm sorry. I'm getting senile. V and W. So going back about 15, 18 years ago, I actually petitioned the city council at that time. They actually put a hunk of sidewalk in front of our water pumping station all the way over to Silent Brook. So, and they actually did that, but it's only a regular sidewalk. I guess, the question I have, I'm not opposed to this, but it's such a large amount of money. I just don't understand why bike paths have to cost so much money when we could be building streets that way. I don't know why we just couldn't expand the sidewalk and just be done with it. To spend $54,000 on engineering and not even include the bridge is confusing to me. I guess the other thing that I would ask our Public Works Department to consider is, since Hartung is actually a road that's split between us and Schaumburg, to maybe contact Schaumburg to see if they would be willing to help at any level, either with engineering costs or construction costs. They have a lot more money than we have. They're building a huge bridge on Roselle Road right now over Central Road that's costing them millions of dollars just for a bike path extension. So it's just something I would like to see. I'll support this, but I would really look to see of ways we could reduce the cost of this. It's just a lot of money. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Cannon. Any further discussion? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Williams.
No.
Cannon.
Yes.
Bud Matts.
No.
Majikis.
Yes.
Gallo.
Yes.
Baner.
Yes.
Diastis.
Yes.
With 5 for and 2 opposed, it does move forward. This brings us to Resolution W. Number 19-RW is to award a contract for Phase 1 engineering services for the proposed Quinton Road bike path improvements. This resolution, if adopted, would authorize the approval of a preliminary engineering service agreement for Phase 1 engineering service for the proposed Quinton Road bike path, including improvements on Hartung Road. The proposal for engineering services as submitted by the city engineer, Christopher V. Burke Engineering, is at a cost of $53,436. Do I have a motion to move this forward? Mr. Baner has made that. Do I have a second? Ms. Majikis has seconded. Mr. Cannon, I do believe that
Thank you,
you're
Mr. Mayor.
again.
I guess the only other question I would just ask about this is, if we approve this and the county comes back and says we have to redo the bridge, I really wouldn't be for it at that point. I mean, if we have to redo the bridge, it's going to cost us hundreds of thousands of dollars more, and I think we would end up eating a lot of that, I think. Is that correct, Mr. Vogt?
Oh, hold on, Mr. Vogt, are you the person for that one? Or is it Rob?
It'd be myself.
Okay, thank you. Rob just smiled and go, yes, go ahead, Fred, you take that one, yes.
We do not know if the county and the state will authorize, it's really more the state than it is the county in terms of the creek crossing. If we are unsuccessful in convincing the state and county highway department that we can do a lesser crossing or an interim crossing, as we're kind of unofficially calling it right now, we would have to come back for a change order to do additional engineering work. But at this point, we're mildly confident that we can be persuasive and omit that from the project.
If we had to do a bridge, can you just even give a high and low ballpark of what it might be in light of the fact we're doing one of those on Euclid right now with Arlington Heights?
It's really a culvert extension in this case and not a bridge to facilitate crossing the creek. It would have to widen or extend that culvert to the west. The engineer has given us an estimated cost, very basic rough cost of $225,000.
And so I understand that the statement you made, the culvert, but we would actually widen the bridge also, the bike path portion of it up on top? I mean, right now it's 6 or 7 feet wide, so we'd have to go to whatever the same size as the bike path is?
It would be pushed to the west, whatever the width that's determined with a rub rail or moving the guardrail or some protective nature for the bike path.
So, but you would have to do the top then too. Does that include extending the top also?
Yes.
Okay. And let me ask you a question. So in conjunction with that, so if we approve this engineering, where at in the process do we find out whether they'll approve it one way or another? Do we have to submit all our plans before we'll know?
No, absolutely not. That's one of the reasons we do phase one and call it preliminary, is that we do a cost assessment, and generally a process like this would have us attend a IDOT federal highway funding meeting to plead our case. We've had other bike path designs over the years where we've had to ask for exemptions or omissions, whether it's width, whether it's setbacks from roadways. So it's not unusual for the city in this case to make this request.
Okay. The last comment I would make, I've been out of town for a couple weeks and I got back and I realized that with our plowing out there, the path that's out there right now is right up against the fence for a few blocks. And I noticed that our plowing situation has actually damaged some of the fences out there. So I think we need to make an effort to move it back farther to the west, away from the fences. I don't know what we can do legally, but if we rebuild it in the same position, we're just going to cause ourselves all kinds of financial issues in the future, redoing those fences.
So noted, and we are aware of the situation out there with the recent snowstorms and the plowing. Those have been reported. We will be causing those repairs. We will be looking at that with the phase one engineering to see how far we can move it further away from the fence without getting too close to the road. So that'll all be part of that phase one engineering effort.
Great, thank you very much.
Any further discussion on W? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Cannon.
Yes.
Bud Matts.
Yes.
Majikis.
Yes.
Gallo.
Yes.
Baner.
Yes.
Diastis.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
7 in favor, none opposed. That resolution moves forward. Resolution X, resolution number 19-R-20, is to authorize the submittal of a grant application for Illinois Transportation Enhancement Program, fund for the Hicks-Euclid Bike Path Extension. This resolution, if adopted, would authorize the submittal of a grant application to ITEP for the proposed construction of a bike path on the west side of Hicks Road from Kirchhoff Road to Euclid and on Euclid Avenue from Hicks Road to Countryside Park. This route is identified in the city's master bike path plan. ITEP funds, if approved, generally provide 80% of the construction costs. The cost estimate for this project is $1.1 million to $1.2 million, of which the city's cost would be $220,000 to $240,000. The proposed bike path project would include the installation of a pedestrian traffic signal installation at the intersection of Hicks Road and Euclid Avenue. Mr. Budmatz, sir, I believe this is yours.
You need a motion?
Yep.
I'm sorry. Do we have a motion to move X forward? Mr. Baner has made that. We have seconded. Mr. Budmatz, go for it.
So this is within my ward. I enjoy the bike path in my ward. I regularly bike in it in the summer.
I'm sorry.
And I can tell you that to place a bike path on Hicks between Kirchhoff and Euclid is absolutely 100% worthless because there are 2 sidewalks there on each side of the road that are completely unused. All of the houses on the back of Adams that to the east, none of those, there are no driveways there that go on there, so that's a totally unused sidewalk unless you're walking your dog. There's nobody who leaves their house and goes out onto that sidewalk. They go out on Adams Street. So that sidewalk is virtually unused. I understand the need for the pedestrian crossing at Hicks and Euclid, and I also understand where you could want to have a widened bike path going from Hicks to the west to the Countryside Park. And then once you get there, I don't know what you're going to do after that. I guess go back to sidewalk. But I guess the point is to do it for that stretch from Kirchhoff to Euclid along Hicks is a waste of money, and I don't want to support a waste of money in that. Maybe we could repave one of the streets in my ward that so badly needs to be repaved with that same dollar.
Thank you.
So I would ask that we can come back with it modified in that way. Other than that, I'll be voting no.
Thank you. Mr. Corey, did you have any comments, Mr. Vogt?
We can certainly look at modifying if the scope of the application, if that's the desire of council to have staff do that. We do have time to do this. This isn't a matter that would have to be a yes, no, and we wouldn't apply. We do have time in terms of the ITEP funding cycle for the next couple of months, I believe it is, probably summer before. So if that's the desire of council, we can certainly do that.
Yes, Mr. Williams.
Well, 2 things. I wholeheartedly agree with Mr. Cannon on the fact that the costs of these bike paths seem to be exorbitant, to say the least. I've failed to understand how a bike path costs that much money unless you're making them like you're going to be running heavy equipment on them. And at the same time, I agree with Mr. Budmatz that the one along Hicks is totally unnecessary. It's very seldom used for walkers or for street, anything other than could be used for bikes. For that matter, I'm not so sure that along Euclid gets that much foot traffic because there's the fencing and all of the houses they're housing projects, the condominiums that are up there that go all the way along it, all the way up to Plum Grove. I will be voting against it.
Further discussion? Mr. Budmatz, do you wish to make an amendment saying that you would like the staff to come back at a later date? Is that something that will work out with us, Mr. Vogt?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm asking staff what's going to work. I mean, we can either vote it down tonight, or if Mr. Budmatz's request and the request of council, obviously,
you could move to amend the motion to eliminate Hicks if that's so desired, and we could at least see if we can feasibly proceed with a grant application for the other half. If it's, we always have to look at logical termini and the like. We can get more data on that, and like I said a few minutes ago, we certainly have more time to research it and bring it back, put it on a committee of the whole agenda as an update a month or 2 from now too. If you're so desirous of at least proceeding with part of it, that would be helpful to staff.
So the chair is making that suggestion. Would you like to put that in the form of a motion, Mr. Budmatz?
Yeah, could we ask staff to come back to us with an amended motion at some point in the future rather than voting on this?
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Gallo has seconded. Is there any further discussion? Mr. Gannon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't disagree with us coming back at it, but I guess I would question the wisdom of just putting a bike path from Hicks to Countryside Park. It's like a path to nowhere from nowhere. I don't bike any, but I mean, it doesn't connect anything other than regular sidewalks. And I'm not. These things do get crazy expensive, but I don't understand what the benefit would be.
Mr. Vogt is just ready to jump in on that one right now. I could tell.
Okay.
Yes,
That's
Mr.
fine.
Vogt.
Have at it.
Thank you, Mayor. Several reasons why this application is proposed the way it is. And we have had several discussions over the last couple of years with the Traffic Review Committee as well. Part of it being concerns that we've had from residents in the area, particularly on Vermont Street for the pedestrian crossing there. We've had discussions with Cook County Highway Department in that regard, and the Highway Department has indicated that were we to do a project such as a bike path to improve pedestrian nature, they may look at options, including putting a left turn lane in, putting a safety island in the middle of the intersection to assist people crossing Hicks, a number of things that we really can't have the county do, or the county has indicated to us that they would want to see some sort of an improvement project. The pedestrian crossing that's proposed as part of this project at the Hicks Euclid intersection is of importance. The fact that the length from Countryside Park then to Plum Grove Road, where we would be able to tie into an existing bike path, is quite lengthy. We felt that that was too big a project, too costly a project, and would look to do it incrementally. Going back to Hicks, certainly that could be an increment as well. We, wherever we can and where the city desires to include bike paths, we've kind of done it in segments over the years as well.
Well, after discussion with our parliamentarian, we could, yes, Mr. Crumstock, because we could table it.
You could table it, and that's what I was going to say.
We're going to table it.
If you table it, we'll bring it back in a few weeks with some of the discussion. And there's actually two parts that we can actually have, because obviously we've talked about modifying it and everything else. We can also have some of our discussions. But I do want to reiterate, there's been some comments about it's a bike path to nowhere. I can tell you that certain people do bike that area, and they go wherever they can get to Countryside. So there is a use for it that's discussed. I can tell you that it does come to staff every so often. Why don't we have a safe area? And we did look for grants because of the crossing and some of the other pieces. The other comment that has been stated, and I just want to clarify, sometimes bike paths are so expensive is because we are using federal and state money, and there are specific rules how you have to build a bike path, not just the depth of the concrete and the width and all those, but there are actually rules that get into it. If a municipality was just doing an overlay, that's a different kind of issue. So I guess what I would ask, again, please table it tonight. We'll be back in March with this. And then I guess the other thing that I would say is maybe we should do a quick staff write-up about why some of these bike paths do have additional costs. This way we can just do some more communication on it.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to table X? Mr. Budmetz has made that. Mr. Cannon has seconded. Is there any discussion? Clerk, call the roll, please.
Budmetz.
Yes.
Majikis.
Yes.
Gallo.
Yes.
Baner.
Yes.
Diastis.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
And Cannon.
Yes.
7 in favor, none opposed. It is tabled, yes. Thank you. This brings us to Resolution Y, number 19-R-21, is to authorize the city manager or city attorney to advise the National Safety Council that the city did not authorize the filing of a grant application. This resolution, if adopted, would advise the National Safety Council that the city of Rolling Meadows did not authorize the filing of a Road to Zero grant application. Do I have a motion? Mr. Jikis has made that motion. Mr. Gallo has seconded. Mr. Gallo, you have first opportunity here.
So I want to, I think, put a little perspective around this Road to Zero grant application, starting with the criteria for eligibility and what this actually is. So the Road to Zero Coalition requires that you be a member, which I am a member of. That's something you put your email address in and hit submit, and you become a member. The other component for criteria to be eligible is that you be a representative of the city where an initiative is taking place. And since I receive compensation from the city of Rolling Meadows, and I filed my tax returns against the revenue I receive from the city of Rolling Meadows, and have a city of Rolling Meadows email address, and I'm a local elected official for the city of Rolling Meadows, I feel I'm a valid representative for the city of Rolling Meadows. The third component was having to have an initiative in your community that leads to safer roads or improving traffic safety, which we heard earlier from the Haas Alert team that our fire trucks and ambulances have been doing for quite a few months now. Fast forward a bit to the actual application. As mentioned, this is the National Safety Council, and because road safety and traffic safety is so significant and danger is so ubiquitous, this is a national contest offered from Alaska to Hawaii, across every state in the continent to Puerto Rico, which means there are thousands of applicants vying for these dollars. And at the end of the day, only 11 to 15 will receive revenue for their reward. So essentially, to reframe this is the equivalent of me taking my business card and putting it in a fishbowl at a restaurant to receive a free lunch. And should I be lucky enough to actually have it reviewed and find our initiative be interesting enough to spend more time, money, and project power toward, the National Safety Council would come back to me and allow me to know that. And at that time, much like the restaurant program, after I'm doing my due diligence behind the scenes, come to the City Council and lay before them the actual parameters, the fact that we are selected, and this is a real thing, because right now this is completely immaterial. There is no moving forward. There is no contract. There is nothing other than wing and a prayer that we'll have this. So right now, I think we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves in that which we're pursuing. And if we did bring it before the council, I would put it before you to make a determination whether or not you wanted to turn down free money and opportunity to collect data that could save residents and, more importantly, our first responders who we put on our roads. If you wanted to, that's fine. I know we've turned down grants for fire stations and things of that nature before, so that would be on the council, and I'm okay with that. But I have a couple concerns about this, seeing this here on the agenda, knowing that this is so immaterial, is that I need to understand what the actual problem is with me having a little bit of autonomy to do preliminary work, to bring something before the council, and it's prematurely here right now. Is it because I'm trying to improve road safety or improve safety for our first responders? Or is it because it's Joe Gallo who's actually doing this, and that's a problem? Because if we're going to follow rules and say that city staff members are the only ones who can fill out applications, and we follow rules, then we should follow rules when city managers spend beyond their limits for $80,000 in a contract for demolition on Hicks.
Mr. Gallo?
I'm just making a point about rules.
Mr. Gallo.
So my question is this.
Mr. Gallo, point of order. I would ask you to stay on task.
I am on task.
And I did respect the opportunity for you to pull this, so please.
My question is, what is the problem with me doing preliminary work? And if we so get the luxury of receiving this, bring it before the council for a vote. What's the problem?
Well, I will give you my insight to it. First off, my first inkling of what this was happening was I picked up a newspaper of an article that was not totally correct about what was happening with this, because I then proceeded to ask our city manager, and no one in the city knew what you were speaking about. The city manager did not know about it. The city attorney did not know about it. I'm told Mr. Crumstock, no department head, was aware of this initiative. The city manager reached out to you and asked for a copy of this grant, which
I told him stand by.
Correct. We never received it.
I hadn't gotten it.
We now have it.
I understand that. So
Correct.
why am I going to bring it to you after you know that?
Mr. Gallo, you've given us more information tonight, which you could have done previously. Now, Mr. Gallo, you've put this forward for a grant. I think it's a great idea that the city can move forward with these items. However, there are only certain members, quote, of the city mandated that can apply for grants. So I agree that the opportunity there is great. I think when you ask, why has this become such a matter? It was simply, if you had given us the explanation you gave us tonight in January, this probably never even would have come forward. We would have had a better understanding of what was going on. But my understanding is, and from our attorney, is only the city council may make applications for grants. Am I correct, Mr.?
Yeah, the council never provided the authority to do that.
And we are not bound by any contract to.
I don't know what the terms of it are. So we want to call it a contract. Forgive my voice, but I don't know what it is. I don't know anything about it. But be that as it may, no one on this dais, the city manager or any department head, has the ability to just go ahead and send off documents on behalf of the city. It doesn't exist. So that's the basic problem.
There is a double standard there, if I may, and that's when if we want to follow rules are rules are rules. If a city manager has a rule that he cannot exceed a certain spending limit, however he does, and this council turns a blind eye to it, then the rule's not a rule.
Mr. Gale, excuse me. Mr. Gale, we're different. It's a different. We're dealing with this right now. We're not dealing with the city manager. Mr. Gallo, this looks like this is a very promising idea. However, as the city attorney has stated, it would be like someone saying, well, I'm going to apply to get a snow truck or a snowplow into my ward because I think we really should have one of those. I think there's two factors here, Mr. Gallo. Mm-hmm. Number one, all you had to do was communicate to us. I think that would have been, and we could have told you what the process is. And number two, only again, the city council or their designated representatives can come forward with this. I again think it has a great deal of promise. I think it go forward. So any further discussion? Ms. Majikis.
Thank you. I'm almost 100% sure that there isn't one person up on this council, in this room, or in this city that wants our first responders in jeopardy. We want them to be safe. So that is not even a point to be brought up because it's a given. We want them to be safe. I actually had a resident contact me when they read this article, and I knew nothing about it. So my problem with it all is, as the mayor just stated, the lack of communication. I think it's a wonderful idea. I think I would support it if it went through and everything. But the fact that when I then read the article, and it pretty much sounded like a done deal the way the article was written, and I know you don't have control of how a reporter writes, but you were interviewed. So, and then I did watch the mayoral interview yesterday with the Daily Herald, and you did refer to it again, sounding like it was a done deal. Now, let me finish.
Mr. Gale, let her finish, please.
So my only issue is the fact that I get a phone call then from a resident totally caught off guard, and they're thinking this is all done. They've just read this article. What is this? When is this being done? This money is being spent. So the lack of the communication is...
Mr. Gallo, Mr. Gallo,
no money's being spent.
Okay, can I
Mr.
please
Gallo,
finish?
Point of order, okay? I've tried to be respectful here to everyone.
Sure.
You've had your opportunity to speak. Mm-hmm. No one interrupted you. Would you please have the same respect for another member of the council? Thank you.
What I'm saying is they asked me about the money that could be spent on this, and I had no answers because there was nothing communicated to me. Is this the type of grant that has to be matched? I don't know because there was no information shared. So it puts an alderman in a bad spot when a resident's reaching out on something another alderman did an article, and I can't give them the proper answers. So all I have the problem with is the lack of communication so that I could then respond with the proper information.
Thank you. Further comment from the council? Mr. Banger.
Thank you. This is a timely issue for me. I had a community gardener reach out with some potential grants. Cook County Farm Bureau is offering community gardens in the area grants, and I'll be going through Public Works to see exactly how this works, and I imagine they'll file for a grant on my behalf. But just the thought of these, it's a body of a council up here, and so I just after the past 7 years of seeing grant applications come in front of us for approval, so we can read about them, so we can know about them. I'm always mindful of subscribing to something or getting something. It's rare to get something for nothing. A lot of times you'll get on a 90-day, trial, and I just had a web service send me a note that says, your trial is up, it's time to start paying. And I just want to know everything up front, and again, this is a body of officials, and I think the proper way of bringing it in is to send it through staff onto the agenda. And regardless of what this is about and how beneficial it might be, if this is the new way of doing things, I have 3 or 4 organizations that I'd certainly like to join on behalf of the city, but I'm not going to, because that's not the way it works. So, kudos to Alderman Gallo for being passionate about this and trying to get the city involved, but it's not the right way to do it, in my opinion. So I'll be voting for these 2 resolutions. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Cannon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I guess a couple questions I would ask Mr. Mayor is, I know we had a gentleman here from the state of Illinois last February who talked about future tech things that might help us. And I was wondering if, since that time, has there been a tech or tech of the future committee formed in our city?
We, at that time, at that meeting, Mr. Gallo came forward and said, and if I can quote it directly, he came forward that he would like to organize one, and he would come back to us with a charter, which has not happened at this time. So we
don't have one right now.
technically do not have a committee. He did not come back with it. So.
Okay.
Okay.
So,
further question?
Okay. No. So I guess I would go along with Mr. Banger. There's a couple of issues I had with the fire station where I actually had some contacts that I was told that I couldn't even talk to them about the items that I was aware of that I think the city could save a lot of money on. I was not even allowed to talk to the vendor, never mind make a deal with them or sign any papers. So I think the process, I would agree with some of the comments that I think seems like it might be an interesting idea. I guess it just would have been handled in the right manner. It would be something I'd be probably supportive of. But the way this has been handled, I think it's kind of an embarrassment to the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Further comments?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Mr. Budmats.
So, without looking at the source, I'd like to look at the merit of what's being talked about and why. And so I really don't see a reason for us to pull it based on the merits and how it's been explained at this point. I understand that we're not happy with how it came to be, but based on what it is and how it's been explained, and I've read the application, and it doesn't appear that it creates any liability on the city's part to keep the application in place. So to remove the application at this point would probably just cut off our nose to make our face look good. It just doesn't, there's no sense in doing it. So I'm going to vote that we leave the application the way it is. There's a fine line that we need to establish as a council as to what alderman, like Mike saying he wants to be able to contact somebody. I mean, I contacted somebody and we saved a ton of money on the lifts, and John contacted people and he came up with a great program for the restaurant initiative. So if we stymie or we take away the impetus for aldermen to demonstrate some kind of initiative, I mean, the city's going to suffer. I mean, we're here, we all have expertise that we can bring and share with the city. That's why we're here. And so to limit ourselves in being able to do that in the future seems foolish. And it also seems foolish to turn away, $180,000 free dollars if they happen to find their way here. So I'm not going to vote against it just because of how it came to be. I'm going to vote for it based on the merits of its own program.
Thank you. Further comments? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Majikis.
Yes.
Gallo.
What's the question?
Question, the resolution, number 19R21, is this resolution, if adopted, would advise the National Safety Council that the City of Rolling Meadows did not authorize the filing of a Road to Zero grant application.
So what's the action for the city to pull it?
A yes will pull it, and a no will not.
No, we will not pull it.
Sorry.
Excuse me. Let's define pull. I mean, are we going to, you vote it up or you vote it down?
Yes, that's basically where we're going. It's either a yes or no.
Misunderstanding.
Yeah. So.
Okay. Baner?
Yes.
Diastis?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Cannon?
Yes.
Bud Matts?
No.
I said no. I said no.
Do we? Majakis?
Choose the first one.
Okay. So the resolution passes. And the resolution is as adopted, would advise the National Safety Council of the City of Rolling Meadows did not authorize the filing of a Road to Zero grant application. Z, resolution number 19-R22 is to authorize the city manager and/or city attorney to demand that the Illinois Autonomous Vehicle Association remove city vehicle and references to the city of Rolling Meadows. This resolution, if adopted, would authorize the city manager or the city attorney to demand the association remove the city seal from the association's materials and also remove the city as a municipal partner until further notice. Do I have a motion for Z? Mr. Baner has made that, and we have seconded. Mr. Gallo, you have first chance.
So I learned of our city seal being on this website the day the packet came out. Yes, I am involved in the Illinois Autonomous Vehicle Association. I've been a founding member. Yes, the Haas Alert system is a program that's taken with pride through the Illinois Autonomous Vehicle Association with vehicle-to-vehicle response. And I think inadvertently they put our logo up because the system is in play in our fire trucks and ambulances. And as the email I sent to you, Mr. Mayor, and to you, City Manager Krumstock on Sunday, saying the logo's already been down since Saturday, would have much easily been taken care of with a quick phone call from the city before without having to make a big to-do about this unless there's a reason to make it an issue. And so I'm just curious as to why we wouldn't want to demonstrate, if anybody's looked at the other logos available on the Illinois Autonomous Vehicle Association's website, Rivian, the UIC Chicago, the developer of the atomic bomb, nuclear age, and we don't want to show that we have progress through participation and be on the same platform as these people and have our city manager look at the logos and encourage conversation and collaboration. But I guess not. So,
thank you. Further discussion? Sorry, Mr. Krumstock.
You know, I don't usually step on bounds, but Alderman Gallo, I do need to mention, I did look at it, and I did prepare a resolution that would have made it authorized, but with everything that was going on, there was a discussion with the city attorney, and I did see Rantoul, and I did see others. So your connotation and your comments are inappropriate and unacceptable. And again, I don't step usually out of bounds, but I did look at it, and there is, because we have a policy and we do have things that we've done before. That's why it was really easy to do a resolution, because when we join things, we get our seal, and there's a difference between the seal and the logo. But when you make comments about it, ask and communicate.
Thank you. Any further comment?
So I have one further comment, which is that I did not suggest or request our logo be put up there in any way.
And in no way did we say that you did it, and it doesn't say anywhere in there. And there was no connotation about you. You're the one who now stated they moved on it, and that was it. And I will leave it at that. You didn't communicate.
Thank you. Any further comments? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Gallo.
No.
Baner.
Yes.
Diastis.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Cannon.
Yes.
Bud Matts.
That is not an issue. I guess yes. I don't know.
Majakis.
Yes.
That resolution does pass. Thank you. This brings the council to other businesses and reports. There's no mayor appointments, no mayor's proclamation, no city report. Clerk, community items of interest.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council. Obviously, we have listed, there's 10. I'm going to add one more, and it's actually going to be repeated during Public Works Director Fred Vogt's comments too. But the first one is obviously this is the last week for the city, Swank and Elgin Recycling to be conducting the Holiday Light Recycling Program again. Obviously, As I stated, by Friday, program runs, and then Elgin Recycling will be here next week to pick up the boxes. The other item is that there is a blood drive scheduled for Friday, February 22nd, between noon and 6 p.m. at Fire Station at 2455 Plum Grove Road. Welcome for any walk-ins, or if you would like to register, 877-258-4825, or visit vitalent.org and use the code 5726 to donate. March 2nd is the 18th annual Dr. Seuss celebration at the library. All of you should have received letters from the executive director. We do appreciate all aldermen and the mayor and other representatives and friends of the library who have actually read in the past. If you bring your hat again, I'll get a picture. But March 2nd is also the Taste of the Town. That's between 6 p.m. and 9 p.m. at the Community Center at 3705 Pheasant Drive. The cost for this event is $15 at the door. And then obviously with elections that have been sort of alluded to during tonight's meeting, which come up on April 2nd, the last day for regular voter registration to vote in that April 2nd election is March 5th. There's other rules about some other online and others. But again, March 5th is really for the regular voter registration. Early voting for this election actually will start on March 18th. Please look at the Cook County website for locations. Obviously, in the past, it's been the Cook County Courthouse. They are again at Palatine and some other locations. March 7th is the 10th Rolling Meadows Library Spring Book Sale. I should say March 7th through the 10th is that library spring. Then Rotary will be doing their St. Patrick's Day dinner, and it's scheduled for Saturday, March 9th. If you'd like to join the 19th annual St. Patrick's Day dinner, and again, Rotary is going to be doing it for their last year. The Community Event Foundation will be taking it over for next year. But to purchase tickets, please see the Rotarian across the room over there, or we do have some at here at City Hall. Assistant to the City Manager, Lori Cezak, has some. I don't know how many. And again, there's additional information that we'll have about that too. March 10th is the Law Enforcement Torch Run. That's the Polar Plunge for Special Olympics. It's held at Twin Lakes, Palatine. It starts around noon, and that's typically when they start everything, so it goes very quickly. And it ends by 3 p.m. or when they have no more teams left to go into the, I'll call it a pond, even though they call it a lake. But again, if you'd like to donate, if you'd like to participate, please contact Chief Nowacki. And this is a great opportunity to support Special Olympics in the state of Illinois. Last year it was really warm. I don't see it's going to be that warm this year. Might be a nice cold event for Polar Plunge. And then obviously, have you seen the February electronic news and views, e-news and views? If you have not, please visit the city website at www.cityrm.org. Click News and Views tab. This is a sister publication for the regular News and Views. It does have some additional items on it. And then obviously number 10, before we get to number 11, is a reminder that Rolling Meadows Fire Department still offers home safety surveys for senior citizens. The senior safety program is really for residents aged 65 and older. Trained fire department personnel do the safety looking throughout the house, and they do install smoke detectors, carbon monoxide detectors, and all those other kind of things that you need. This was done by a FEMA Fire Prevention Safety Grant. Seniors, if you'd like to participate, please contact the fire department at 847-397-3352. And again, that's really an easy and nice thing to do. They do have plenty of time that they can do that. They also do evaluation of the home for any slip, trip, and falls. The 11th one that you're going here, this was not in the printout, but was actually confirmed now, is that on Wednesday, February 20th, the Planning and Zoning Commission will be conducting a workshop regarding the comprehensive plan. The Planning and Zoning Commission on February 5th did have a public hearing. They are just now having this workshop. If anybody else would like to come in and have additional conversation about the comprehensive plan.
Where are we at, Mr. Krumstak? Cow meeting?
The next one is actually the Committee of the Whole meeting. That is scheduled for next Tuesday. We do have ComEd coming back, as they stated. They did have their meeting in December about their new rules. What did they learn from the last winter outage, all the other pieces. They will also do some additional feedback. But Joe Turnage, who you all met, he is coming back to go over lessons learned. As I mentioned before, we will be having comp plan update here at the council chambers. This is another feedback where it actually sits before that workshop and obviously before it gets back to the March 5th Planning and Zoning Commission. We also will have the utility rate study. I know that the ad hoc Capital Improvement Committee has actually looked at that. It is now ready for Baxter Woodman, the engineer, to actually talk about that. And again, some of the work that we're doing. And then obviously Brookwood. I know some of you, we've talked about it so many times, but it is back again as an update that we have. Those are the 4 items. We're trying to keep it reasonable. Some of these might be a little longer conversations.
Thank you. Fred Vogt, comprehensive plan update. I'm presuming you're not reading all of this, but you can,
No, Mayor, unless you wish me to read all
No,
of
I
it.
do not. With the lady, Fred, I love to hear your voice, but yeah, I'm sure people can read this online.
Cliff Notes version.
I will give a summary or a Reader's Digest version.
Thank you.
Yes. As the city manager just made mention to, we did have a Planning and Zoning Commission public hearing last Tuesday night on the comprehensive plan draft. Presentation was made by our consultants from Tesca Associates. After considerable discussion and the meeting being open to public and some comments being provided, the commissioners felt that they needed to take a bit more time with it, give another opportunity for public comment, get another opportunity for sharing their comments. So they did schedule a workshop next Wednesday, February 20th at 7:30 p.m. in this chamber. We have to date, and my summary just indicates that there have been 9 meetings or opportunities to date open to the public for comments. We have a number of, I think over 400 people responded to the online survey, so we have had a lot of public input, but again, the commission felt that we should just step back a little bit and give another opportunity. So that being one of them at the workshop next week, we will have the committee of the whole meeting the night before on Tuesday the 19th for the council to get an opportunity to look at the plan. That will be included in your packet that's distributed Friday, but if you don't want to wait for that and want to look, it is posted online at this point. The draft that the Plan and Zoning Commission received last week, if you want to start taking a look at that before next Tuesday night. So after that, March 5th is the next scheduled public hearing for the comp plan update that the Planning and Zoning Commission will hear at their meeting, and trusting that that document will move forward from that date. If they are satisfied with it and give their approval, we will be bringing that to City Council in late March and April for the Mayor and Council consideration and approval. So that's our staff report on the update.
Thank you. Taste of the Town.
I'll take that. I obviously try to keep it really quick.
Did you get the hint there?
I know, that's what I'm trying to say. Saturday, March 2nd, will be the 3rd annual Taste of the Town. Tickets cost $15 at the door. That will be at the community center. It goes from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. Obviously, there's music, there's samples while we have samples from each of the restaurants. We just listed the ones that we knew as of February 7th. And again, we hope that everybody comes. We'll have another update at the next meeting. But again, it is Saturday, May 2nd at the community center. It's the 3rd annual Taste of the Town. It goes from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. And obviously, we hope that people will come out. And for all the volunteers, we do appreciate all that you do during that event, too.
Thank you. That brings us to matters not on the agenda. I wasn't going to speak, but I feel necessary. You know, Mr. Gallo, you made a comment, is this just Joe Gallo? And I want you to know that since you've come on the council, I have reached out to you on a number of times asking you, how can I help you? I have defended you in front of this council, as you have acknowledged by email. I have brought you to meetings when I was with Congressman Chris DeMorthy to let you know, even if it was a mayor's meeting, how can we work together So when you brought this up tonight, I felt the fact that I didn't even get the courtesy of a phone call, or no one else received the courtesy of a phone call. I'm sorry, Mr. Gallo. I have reached out to you from the very beginning, and I still will reach out to you. And if there's anything I can do to help you, there were things that were happening that I asked you, and I tried to bridge with other members of the council, and you told me that you weren't interested. So I wasn't going to come forward with this, but my hand is still out there if you'd like to work on something. There is something in the last 2 years that on a number of occasions I have brought you in when there was a meeting or there was an idea for the Dominic's property that you were brought forth within to a meeting. It was just exploratory, but you were brought into it because it was your ward. So I want it to be known out there that I have reached out to you and I've tried to communicate to you, and I hope you appreciate that. I know you're smiling right now,
I do.
but do appreciate the fact that I have tried.
I appreciate your attempt, but I also appreciate your candor here publicly, but your patronization privately. So with that, I'll keep it as what it is. Thank you for your outreach.
I'm sorry you feel that way, Mr. Gallo. I certainly do. Any other matters not on the agenda? Ms. Majikis?
Thank you. I would just like to ask if, I don't know if it's staff would be to put it together or the technology council to put it together, but is this committee formed? Who are the members? Have there been meetings? Because then we probably wouldn't be going through what we just went through a little while ago. So because it says right here, to show commitment to road safety, Rolling Meadows has founded the city's first technology council. So just for transparency, like we're always talking about, I think it would help everybody so that if we want to see minutes from those meetings, we can, and who we know is on those committees. So I'm just asking if that information's out there and I've missed it somehow.
So I'm holding, if you're asking, and I'll answer you, I'm holding the charter back because I am not going to start having a group of residents push initiatives that this council doesn't seem to have the capacity to want to pursue, because this council doesn't have the capacity to want to listen to residents and what the residents want. And I'm not going to stand here on a soapbox like you all are doing, and we're not doing this tonight.
I didn't know my asking for information was a
Sure.
soapbox, Mr.
So,
Gallo.
Mr. Gallo, all I can say is we're here and we would love to work with you, but you have told us what your thoughts are. Any other?
No.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor.
There is a request to go into closed session. It does require a motion and a roll call under Personnel 5 ILCS 120-2 of the Open Meetings Act. Do I have such a motion?
So moved, Mayor.
Ms. Majikis has made that. It has been seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Baner.
Yes.
Diastis.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Cannon.
Yes.
Bud Matts.
Yes.
Majikis.
Yes.
Gallo.
The man is beyond all belief.